Hello everyone, thank you for joining Rockfon Mono Acoustic Installation Made Simple. This webinar is sponsored and presented by Rockfon. My name is Tangwen, AWCI's Education Program Manager. At this time, I'd like to introduce our presenter, Mekram Mohammed. Mekram is the Regional Manager for Rockfon's USA East Division, where he works closely with distributors, contractors, and partners across the region. With more than 16 years in the building material industry, he brings a long understanding of the challenges and opportunities in the field. Mekram has focused on building relationships, supporting project success, and helping teams deliver effective, high-performing solutions. Welcome, Mekram.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity to present with AWCI on monolithic stone wool ceilings for performance and design. And from there, we'll go ahead and get started. As mentioned, my name is Mekram, and this is my contact information. If you did want to scan the digital business card, that is available, but there will be a sign-up form or a contact form at the end as well. So this presentation is about stone wool ceilings presented by Rockfon, which is part of the Rockwool Group. And just a brief overview of who Rockfon is. As part of Rockwool Group, there is 85 years combined of history with Rockwool, with over 12,000 specialists, and we are in 40 countries. The Rockwool umbrella has a number of different brands. I'm representing Rockfon today, which is the ceilings and stone wool acoustical division of Rockwool Group. Additionally, there's Grodan, there's Rockpanel and Lapinus. Rockpanel and Lapinus are available currently in the European market, but Rockwool, Rockfon, and Grodan are in the North American market. One of the things that combines all of these different companies under Rockwool is the use of stone wool ceilings, or stone wool substrate. In North America, Rockfon has headquarters in Chicago, where the manufacturing facility is for the metal ceilings and suspension systems. In Mississippi, we have the stone wool factory where the ceilings and insulation are produced. Rockfon acquired Chicago Metallic in 2013, and from there, Rockfon was able to provide a full ceiling solution for grid suspension systems, metal ceilings, and stone wool ceiling, the stone wool material as well. And Rockfon is proud to be recognized by several prominent awards for the latest stone wool ceiling innovations. One of them is Rockfon Mono Acoustics, which won a number of awards when it was introduced into the North American market. Mono itself is not a new system, but when it was introduced into the North American market in 2023, there's been a number of awards that were won and multiple projects that have been installed since. So today we'll go over what stone wool ceilings are for monolithic ceilings, the overview of Rockfon Mono, the install advantages for Rockfon Mono, and training, support, and resources. So stone wool substrate for monolithic ceilings. So architects and designers really love the look of acoustical or plaster and drywall, but the problem with drywall and plaster is that they don't absorb a lot of sound unless it is an acoustical substrate. So that's the reason why Rockfon Mono does a really great job. Rockfon Mono is a sound absorbing panel that can be installed similarly to drywall at significantly lower cost than an acoustical plaster. Rockfon Mono can achieve an NRC of up to 95, which is a very high NRC and one of the highest NRCs available for a monolithic ceiling. To understand really what Rockfon Mono is made out of, we have to understand the substrate, which is stone wool. Stone wool is primarily made out of basalt rock, which is a volcanic rock, where the stone is melted into at 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit and spun into fibers. Volcanic rock, such as basalt rock, is replenished at 38,000 times faster than it can be used. So it's a very renewable product, and it's also a closed loop recycled product, which can be taken back into the factories and respun back into either insulation or ceiling products or whatever other products that Rockfon or Rockwool can make. It's a non-directional fiber that provides excellent stability, and we'll go into those performance characteristics of stone wool. So some of the benefits that you get out of stone wool for Rockfon Mono is that it does provide a very high sound absorption of 95 NRC for a finished system. The panels can be tested at 1.00 unfinished, but at an assembly of 0.95, it has a very high NRC. One of the things about a lot of these monolithic ceilings is that the actual performance of the finished system and the assembly is really what the most important number is, because you will be installing it as a finished system versus just a panel. Stone wool in itself is also a very highly resistant product to humidity. It's inherently humidity and sag resistant. It's also inherently mold and mildew resistant because it provides no food source or substance to grow mold or mildew on. It's a Green Guard Gold and LEED certified product, and it is certified for seismic categories A through F. Some of the benefits are very high ease of installation, which we'll go over today, and Class A fire performance, which stone wool made out of basalt rock, which is a volcanic rock, is highly resistant to fire and smoke. Because of the flexibility of the substrate, color and design options are immense with Rockfon stone wool with the mono system. It's backed by a 15-year warranty, and because it's a certified program, it does come with a lot of contractor support, which we'll go over. So really the general composition of a stone wool monolithic ceiling panel, it is at its core a 1.5 inch thick stone wool substrate of non-directional fibers that give it a very rigid and stable substrate for easy installation. Stone wool in itself is a lightweight product that installs very easily, that doesn't require intensive labor, and we'll go over those install details. Back to the high performance membrane, a white mineral fleece with the actual acoustical filler and joint tape once it's installed, and then the last layer will be the acoustical elegant render, which is a spray applied finish. So an overview of the actual system and the different options available for Rockfon Mono. So we'll start off with our first poll question here.
All right, so what best describe your monolithic ceiling approach today? Self-perform, about 43%, typically subcontract, another 43%, and avoid complex system, 14%, and nothing for self-perform limited system.
Perfect. Yeah, so it's a great audience today. A lot of people that are familiar with monolithic ceilings. And, you know, for some of the people that are avoiding it due to complexity, we'll go over what makes Rockfon Mono a really great product for ease of install. So there's 3 different systems. The first system is the Rockfon Mono Acoustic FE. FE stands for flexible edge, and you'll see a section drawing on the bottom, but the Acoustic FE basically is a system that is adhered to a drywall suspension system, where the panels butt up to each other with taping and mudding at the open reveal. The second option is the Acoustic FE Direct, which is a glued up system, smaller panels for easier gluing, and the same edge profile where there'll be a groove for additional tape and mud to finish the ceiling and make it nice and seamless. The advantage for this is a system that does not have a lot of space for a suspension system, a retrofit space, or oftentimes residential as well. The third option is the Rockfon Mono Acoustic FE Flecto. So it still has that FE edge, but it can be curved with a pre-scored backer on the back of the panels with a radius of 5 foot maximum. So essentially this panel can be curved, it can be cut, it can be very flexible in some really interesting design options available. And that's one of the nice advantages of a mono system made out of stone wool, that it can be bent and moved around and really made the way that you really anticipate it in the field. So a quick overview of the 3 systems. The 95 NRC system is the FE system, which is designed to be installed on a drywall grid suspension. So because there is no drywall backer behind it, it does a really good job of absorbing sound at a 95 NRC for the finished system. The panel itself is a 1.00 NRC unfinished panel. It comes in a 4x6 panel, and it's designed to be taped in mud at the edges and seams to create a traditional monolithic ceiling. And it's basically a very standard install system, very similar to a drywall. The other option, which we mentioned, is the direct, which is the acoustic direct, and it is a 3x4 panel, so slightly smaller. So one of the things to take into consideration is that there'll be additional joints to tape and mud with the smaller panels, but it does give you the flexibility of adhering to either an installed drywall or a flat surface or an existing surface that you have. And then the third option that we displayed was the FE, acoustic flecto, and that option is essentially a product that can be curved and very malleable in the field, and is designed for some unique scenarios where curves are envisioned by the designer. So 3 different options, all of them very high NRC still, so you'll never be sacrificing a substantial amount of NRC. And from what we've seen in the market, these are some of the highest NRCs that you can achieve with an acoustical seamless sealing. So a nice close-up of the actual FE edge, which is the flexible edge. It creates a edge profile that eliminates a majority of the waste in the field when you're actually installing this. So if you have a cut panel, you can easily recreate that edge to fill in the edges or gaps or any additional spaces that you have. It also reduces less joint compound needed in that space. So one of the things that you obviously want to do with a system like this is not overly mud the system. When you do, you're essentially covering up any type of sound absorption area. So the less additional or extra mud that you have, the better. And it also makes infield cuts easier, and intersection brackets are made easier with that as well. And we'll go over what those intersection brackets are on the next page. So these are the components that are used to actually install the Rockfon Mono system. So the first option here is the grid suspension system. So if you're installing it on a suspension system, you'll install the grid with the layout of the panels. The acoustic FE panel is then adhered to the grid with a screw. So you can screw it in directly to the panel with no additional glue or anything like that. You'll use a gypsum screw to screw it in into the actual center points of the panel itself to hold it up. Once you have multiple panels up, you'll install the intersection brackets, which join the 2 panels together. So that eliminates the need for individual screws required for each panel. You can actually double up the screws when you're using the intersection bracket by using 1 screw and 1 bracket for the adjacent panels. Rockfon also provides the washers, the mono acoustic tape, the powder filler, and the elegant render. So this is the full system that we provide to make it a lot easier to actually install. When you're looking into a mono system and you're looking for a material list, Rockfon will include all of these items for you to make it easier to install. So we try to provide the full package and make it as easy as possible to get all the material you need. So because of that, you'll have a powder filler that's proprietary to Rockfon, as well as the elegant render. The elegant render is a product that you really don't want to paint over with a different type of paint. You don't want to use a different paint with the Rockfon Mono because those will essentially clog up the holes that are used to absorb sound. The elegant render is a porous paint that is a render that allows sound to travel through and get absorbed into the stone wool panels itself. And if you are ordering a color, you'll get a powder filler specific to that color, as well as an elegant render specific to that color as well. So these are the components used for the actual install. So I mentioned colors. These are the 33 colors that are available for mono, so that when you are ordering the system, you'll choose the color that you want. Obviously, white being the most popular color, but these are the additional colors that you can use as well. And these are coinciding with the Rockfon Colorall panels that are used for tile and grid. So we made a very nice seamless transition from a Rockfon Mono to the Rockfon Colorall ceiling tiles as well. Some of the things that we've heard from designers is that they really like these colors, and we made it really easy for them to choose the color that they like. So we're really excited to be offering colors with the mono as well. This is a installed project where you see the charcoal color is installed. So the render itself is the charcoal render that is used to be sprayed inside the sprayer. So you don't want to use any other type of dye or anything like that. You'll want to make sure that you're ordering the correct render color to spray into the system to achieve the look that you're looking for. Seismic is also a very strong consideration when you're installing a system like this. So Rockfon Mono is designed to be installed in seismic categories from A to F. So it can be installed in very severe situations that have severe seismic constraints. So you can rest assured that when you follow the system for the seismic install, Rockfon Mono will be compliant with those regions. So I know a lot of West Coast people and some in the Midwest, and then obviously some on the East Coast as well, have some severe seismic risk zones. So the Rockfon Mono install advantage. So what really makes Rockfon Mono a very, a system that is advantageous for speed and flexibility, and also provide a system that can be installed with the manufacturer backing the certified installers. So it is a certified installer program where we do bring contractors and subcontractors out to Chicago, where our facility is for the mono install program. And from there, it's a 3-day program where we test out putting up panels, putting up suspension systems, the Chicago metallic drywall grid, and testing out the intersection brackets, taping and mudding. It's a great place to actually learn without, learning on the fly in the field and understanding how best practices for a system like this. Obviously, with a monolithic ceiling system, you want to make sure that the joints are looking perfect, are looking great with the and not overspraying the system. And we'll go over what that exactly looks like. So we'll start off with our poll question number 2.
All right, the question is, what would most help reduce monolithic ceiling project cost? All right, about 38% says faster installation, 25% on-site training and support, 13% better material availability, 19% for less waste and easier repair, and 6% for pre-construction support.
Perfect. A lot of spread out options, but we hopefully have solutions for all of those options. So we'll get into, just what the actual install looks like. So we start off with the grid installation if you are using the Acoustic FE, which is the system that installs on a grid suspension. So in that scenario, you'll have the grid laid out and you'll have the panels screwed into the drywall grid from there. And that's typically the system that we do the training on, because it does involve the additional step of adding the grid and screwing in the panels. If you are not using that system and you're using the Flecto system, you can screw it in just for stability and whatnot, but typically you'll use a adhesive, like a structural adhesive like Titebond or Sika Bond or any of those options to glue up the panel itself. So when you're putting up the intersection brackets, the first thing you'll notice is that there's a screw or two that are used in the middle to hold up the panel. So when you have the first screws in the middle of the panel, from there you'll install the adjacent panels and then start installing the intersection brackets to connect the two panels together. So what that does is it eliminates the overall number of screws that you're using to install the panels, and it's providing a much faster install when you're putting up less screws. You don't need any type of glue or anything like that if you're using the standard install. From there, you'll put in you'll use the powder filler that's provided for the mono system. The powder filler is mixed on site, and you'll use the tools to make sure that you're filling in the groove that is between the two panels. Because of that groove, it does eliminate a lot of additional type of mudding that is needed for the joints. But you'll still need to make sure that you're putting enough to completely fill up the joint. If you do not fill up the joint, correctly on the first time, once it dries, you'll add more mud, and then you'll have to wait for the mud to dry again. So typically we recommend putting a little bit extra to sand it down and to make the ceiling nice and flush. When you are sanding the system, we go over training in the system for best practices, best tools used to actually sand the system, but you usually want to use a very fine sandpaper to not take away a lot of the stone wool or the actual substrate that's absorbing sound. So when you're sanding the joints, you only need to sand the joints. You do not need to sand the complete surface or any other untouched surface. You're only sanding where the actual panel is using tape and mud. So once it's nice and flush and you have all the screws covered up and all the seams covered up with mud, you'll want to make sure that you have the space ready for spraying, and you'll typically want to provide a tarp or wherever, just to make sure that you're not spraying over any surfaces that you don't want a spray on. So with the sprayer, which we typically recommend the Graco Mark V, it is a spray applied finish, and it's sprayed, and we'll go over that. And then after that, you'll be able to enjoy your acoustically absorbing mono ceiling. So when you're putting up the panels, like we mentioned, you'll have the screws in the middle of the panels to hold it up, and then the intersection brackets to join the two panels together. The install sections brackets are approximately 12 inches along the main runners and 16 inches along the cross tees. And you'll want to install screws and washers along the perimeters, 12 inches, and one or two in the center of the panels. So it just depends on the layout of the actual ceiling. So the picture below is showing a typical pod that we use for training. And one of the biggest things that we always recommend is critical lighting, to make sure that you are taking into account, seeing all the harshest of scenarios to basically have the best installation opportunity for checking all your mistakes or anything like that, because the actual pods there are designed to be a learning experience and seeing some of the harshest environments for installations. So the powder filler, which we mentioned, you'll use the Rockfon provided tape as well as the powder filler to fill up the joints. And as we mentioned, using enough to actually cover up the joint, but not over mudding to cover up any of the sound absorbing material. So it does reduce a lot of waste by not having super big mudding lines or anything like that. So typically you'll use for the filler coats two coats with sanding between coats. It takes about 6 to 10 hours to dry, depending on the humidity inside the space. So when you're taping and mudding, and that's why we mentioned to not under mud, because if you are waiting, you will lose those hours by reapplying the actual mud in itself. But once you have everything nice and flush, you'll be ready for spraying. So the Graco Mark V is what's recommended, and the 635 tip is the tip that we use for the actual sprayer. So mono render is ready to use, so you don't have to have any water or additional materials needed for mixing. You could use a hopper to place the material, or you put the bucket directly into the machine for the airless sprayer machine that you have on site. And we go over all of those install details when you're actually in Chicago for testing out the sprayer. So you'll typically want to spray the perimeter first and then full surface across. So you use the airless sprayer similar to the Graco Mark V with the spray tip of 635, and then the pressure is at 150 bars. So the distance to surface is 3 to 4 feet, and if you have a taller ceiling, you can use an extension. We typically recommend a maximum of 6 to 8 feet for the extension, but you want to be between 3 to 4 feet away from the actual spraying surface. The number of coats that we require is a minimum of typically 3 coats. You can do additional if you need to. So the typical recommended is 3, which allows you to do any repairs or resprays in the future if you ever need to without significantly reducing the actual sound absorption of the panels. What I did mention before is that you want to make sure that you're always using the render that is provided by Rockfon, because any other type of render that is used or paint that is used could clog up the holes that are used to absorb the sound. The drying time between each coat is typically 3 to 5 hours, and obviously that also depends on the humidity inside the space. One of the things that's unique about the stone wool substrate is it does not need to climatize to the environment beforehand, so the actual substrate can be installed once it's on the job site without needing to climatize, but the drying times, depending on the humidity, can be variable based off of if it's high temperatures or high humidity. All of those can actually affect the drying time of the space. So we recommend a humidity reader, we recommend fans, we recommend dehumidifiers if necessary. So we recommend all of those to maintain the temperature and humidity inside the space. So as mentioned, you do the perimeter layer, then the surface layer, then the surface layer across, and that counts as one spray. You'll wait for that to dry between 3 to 5 hours, and then you'll do that full scenario again. And that once that dries, you do the third coat, which is the perimeter, surface layer, and then the surface layer across. So each one of those, all 3 of those steps is counted as one coat. So this is showing a very unique application that shows also the design flexibility of mono. So this job is in the station city in Stockholm, Sweden. The actual inspiration was Marilyn Monroe's dress for this space. But this shows, the capabilities of mono and just how flexible of a material it is and how it can be installed in some harsh elements, such as a subway station, which can be exposed to higher humidity levels, since it is oftentimes not in a fully enclosed space. That's some of the advantages that stone wool provides for a system like this. So you can see that obviously a system like this does require a lot of on-site supervision. This requires a higher level of detail, full collaboration between architects, designers, manufacturers, installers. So this is obviously not going to be your typical job, but it does show the capabilities of what Rockfon Mono can do. And that's also showing now multiple layers of the Rockfon Mono with a color, the coral color. And this was installed in France. And yeah, it's a neat application of really how Rockfon Mono can be used on vertical and horizontal spaces. So with a system like this, there's obviously a lot of training that is required, and then support and resources that are available for the installers. So Rockfon Mono is a product that requires a certified installer certification to be installed. So what that entails is a hands-on multi-day technical training with the product in Chicago. We have pods available for the installers to come and experience, setting up the material with all the way from the grid to the final steps of spraying. So once completed, you get a certificate of successful technical training. And Rockfon Mono is a product that can be installed only by certified installers. So some of the advantages of being a certified installer is that when Rockfon products are specified, we work directly with you to get pricing and recommended for the job site. Additionally, you get access to detailed step-by-step installation guides and annually updated and trained on developments within Mono. Such as this year, one of the newest updates was the addition of colors for Rockfon Mono. Additionally, you get on-site support. So you get excellent and proactive on-site support. You get a dedicated, trained technical and sales professionals that can be with you on the job site and help out with unique details, transitions, helping with integration of MEP lights and diffusers, and as well as access and hatch panels. And additionally, you get support during and after the installation. At the end of this presentation, there will be a QR code that can be scanned to learn more about training and get on the program to become a certified installer. So this is what the typical training schedule will look like, which will be day one, assembly installation of the mono panels, as well as powder filler and tape. So there is some drying time, and the advantages of having multiple pods is that when something is drying, you can move on to the next step. So on day two, we'll do sanding and final layer of the filler, and then we'll start with the first spray of elegant render on the surface. So there will be some drying time, and we'll go on to day three, which would be any additional sanding that's required, applying surface layers 2 and 3 with drying times. On day three, we also go over how to work with patchers, working with the machine, hoppers, alternate techniques, as well as storage, cleanup, and maintenance for the material. So some of the accessories that we provide with the Rockfon Mono is the Chicago Metallic Infinity, which is our extruded trim, aluminum trim for drywall applications that can be used for the mono as well. So the Infinity D, which is the Infinity for drywall, can come in curved or straight applications, and comes with a tapered edge and is primed, ready for painting with the elegant render to match the finish of the actual mono once it's installed. So that installs with the drywall grid onto the Infinity D. And so you can see in the application below, you can notch the grid to get curves and create some really unique shapes and designs. Additionally, there's some access panels that are available. So there's some unique circles that are available in metal finish. Additionally, there is a pre-finished mono hatch that can be used and installed on the drywall suspension for a little bit more of a seamless look. Obviously, hatches with any type of monolithic ceiling. One of the challenges you'll always have to face is where to put the access panels and where to actually create a space that can be used for access, because inherently a seamless system is not an accessible ceiling. So with the access panels, there is a option to have a access panel that does come pre-finished with the mono to make it a little bit more seamless and match the rest of the face that you have. There's also additionally a lot of details that we provide for installers that show integration with sprinklers or lights or diffusers or any additional details that you might be interested in. Submittal-wise, Rockfon also on the website has data sheets, BIM illustrations such as DWG drawings, AutoCAD drawings, and PDFs available for the mono panels. We also have the warranty information for the 15-year warranty. We also have the installation guide available, and cleaning and maintenance guide, specifications, and safety and data sheets available as well. There is additionally the sustainability documentation, such as the Green Guard Gold certificates, and all the additional sustainability information as well. So speaking about sustainability, the EPDs are available. The Green Guard Gold certificate is available, which is available for the Rockfon Mono, as well as contributes to well building criteria, which if you're aware of with well building standards, a lot of times they recommend a 90 NRC or higher for their space for their buildings. And Rockfon Mono, since it is made out of stone wool, it qualifies for the Rock Cycle program, which means at the end of its use can be taken down and recycled back into stone wool and put back into the factory where it's remelted down and turned back into a stone wool product for use again. One of the unique benefits of the Rock Cycle program is that the stone wool itself does not lose any performance values, and it is a closed loop recycling program, which can be recycled over and over without any loss of performance for the panels itself. So Rockfon additionally provides a number of resources to make it easier for the installers. One of them is the acoustical support. With a product like this, you want to make sure that you're putting enough coverage inside the space. We can help assist with compliance analysis, product selection, layout assistance, and education on acoustics. Additionally, if there is an acoustician on the project, our acoustician, in-house acoustician, Dr. Gary Medeiros, could assist with providing documentation and assisting with the any questions that they do have. Because Mono does integrate with a lot of our other systems, especially our specialty metal ceilings, we have an estimating department that can assist with estimating the Mono products as well as the infinity trims that are used for the floating applications for any type of Mono application that you have. So custom designs, custom product selections, detailed drawings, project coordination, colors, especially shop drawings and curves. Those are all systems that are provided for the Mono system if requested. Technical and design support is available as well. Our tech services line provides ceilings expertise, seminars, site visits, and material specifications. So I wanted to thank you for your time. We'll open up the floor for questions, but I do recommend, if you are interested in becoming a Mono installer, to please scan the QR code to become a certified installer for Rockfon North America and to install the system with confidence. And we'll open up the floor for questions.
Thank you. There's a couple coming in here. Question number 1, can Rockfon Mono Acoustic panels be installed on both ceilings and walls?
Yeah, absolutely. So because it is a system very similar to drywall, you can install this on ceilings and walls, and we do have the transition details available for doing so. What we do recommend is installing it 7 to 8 feet above the finished floor, just to avoid any type of hits or scrapes or bumps or anything like that, to avoid constantly patching and repairing, because it is a softer surface designed for sound absorption. But there are transition details from standard drywall directly to the Mono, and those are available as well for the installers.
Next question, how well does this system integrate with lighting and sprinkler systems?
Yeah, very good question. So installs very similar to drywall. So one of the things that we always recommend is that a lighting system, they always have different type of profiles. Some profiles are designed for drywall, some profiles are designed for standard suspension systems and ceiling panels for integration. As long as it has the profile for a drywall system, like a tapered edge for taping and mudding, it can integrate very well. A standard detail like the sprinkler system is a detail that we have available on our website. And if you do scan that, we could always send you that specific detail if you are looking for a specific detail for sprinklers. But one of the nice things about the stone wool is that it's easily integrates with MEP, lighting, diffusers, sprinkler systems, wireless access points, a lot of the ceiling components that are installed. We do recommend, obviously, with the Mono to be one of the last installed products in the field. That way, a lot of the other trades, if they're going in and out of the ceiling, avoids a little bit of any type of patch and repair that might be required from other trades.
Great, thank you. Are expansion joints required in Rockfon Mono Acoustic?
Very good question. So the actual product itself is made out of stone wool, basalt rock, which performs exceptionally well with expansion and contraction in harsh environments. What our recommendation is that any space that is drawn by the architect that where they recommend expansion joints, we follow that recommendation. If the architect themselves does not recommend it or require it, then the actual Mono can be installed as far as they recommend it. So it's not a system that needs its own individual expansion joints, but we do follow the recommendations of the architects and engineers on the job, on the drawings.
And last question here, is an adhesive required for the grid in addition to the screws?
No, so the actual panel itself is a panel that can be screwed in without any gluing required to the grid. Because these panels are lightweight and high sound absorbing, you can screw in the panels and not worry about any type of sag from the stone wool ceiling or falling down. So once you follow the actual install recommendations where the screw layout should be, you do not need any additional any additional glue or adhesive. We do have the Rockfon Mono Acoustic Direct option where you can glue the panels, but that one does not require really any additional screws. That's a system that's designed for gluing directly to a substrate.
Okay, I'm going to squeeze in one more question. Any special concerns with the dust?
Yeah, so dust is one of those things that you want to make sure that you're always accounting for. The actual cutting of the panel is a really clean product to cut. So the product itself is not generating a lot of dust. Where you will get some dust is sanding and of the joints. And so we recommend a vacuum to clean up that dust, because when you are spraying, you want to make sure your space is as clean as possible for actually spraying the system. So really just the standard, similar to painting any drywall, you just don't want the actual surface to be covered with a lot of dust from any type of taping or mudding.
Great, thank you so much, Mekram. That concludes the Q&A portion. Thank you to Rockfon for sponsoring this webinar. And thank you to all the attendees who are on the webinar right now. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
Thank you.